all men are pigs. That's something that I hear a lot of women say. But what does it mean, all men are pigs? I don't think that most people have ever considered this. What do women mean when they say, all men are pigs? Well, I don't think most women can totally express it to you in their conscious mind, but they get a feeling about the behavior of men. But let's examine why this is. It all goes back to human social structure. Now think about the first organized communities, which were small tribes. What are the functions of the males? It's to go out and hunt. You can look at the Australian Aborigines. Young Aborigine males would take sticks and throw them. They would take rocks and throw them. It's well known that native-raised Australian Aborigines were incredibly accurate with their throw. In fact, there was a movie called Crocodile Dundee, and in one of the scenes, he takes a Coke can, and in I believe, on a crowded sidewalk in New York City, he throws it probably 30, 40 feet, hits the guy directly in the back of the head and knocks him out. Well, even though, of course, he was like a white Australian, he had been raised as an Aborigine. So, he knew how to do that. The reason why Australian Aborigines, the males in particular, learned to throw so well is because then you could throw what we now call a boomerang, but which were really throwing sticks to kill game. They didn't look exactly like boomerangs. They were generally shaped so that when the Australian threw them, they would go directly to the target, hit it, and knock it out. Because that was the main function of the male, to go out and hunt. Now, this explains a whole lot about how males bond and male bonding. Men do not talk as much as women. Well, think about it. What did men spend most of their time doing in the small tribal group? Out hunting. So they learned to bond with other men with very little conversation, because talking while you're hunting is not a real good idea. Now, in addition to this, when you're hunting, you have to directly go for the food. You can't approach your target slowly, with grace, with social interaction. You go directly for the target. So we have these two main points in mind about men. Don't talk a whole lot, aren't real good with conversational deafness. And two, they go directly for the food. Now, when we look at females, they stay in the camp, they raise the children, they also gather, but they're in close proximity where talking is not going to scare away the plants they're gathering, and helps in watching over the children and getting aid and giving aid to other people in the village that are with you, to the other females, to get various tasks accomplished within what I'll call the tribal nest. So, the results of this are women talk more. Now, I've also mentioned before in other videos that women are smarter than men. And what I mean by this is their brains are more complicated. They have more neural connections. Their emotional and logical sides are more in connection. And they can detect subtle differences of things that men really don't pay attention to. It's not that men can't detect them, but they tend to do with the more hunting mentality of the men. So women have all of these things that they can detect. I remember the other day I was sitting with a group of people, and there were two women that were discussing the muffins. And the oil that had been used in the muffins, there were two different types of muffins, and relative qualities that they thought the oil had when the muffins were cooked. Oh, wow, I couldn't follow any of it. And since I didn't eat the muffins, I couldn't even say, well, it tastes like a muffin, because I don't like muffins. But anyway, getting back. So, you've got these women with these incredibly complicated brains that are always around other women, and they have their emotional and their logical sides interconnected. They learn to interact socially in a much more subtle manner. Women are seldom as direct as men, because you don't have to jump on a plant to capture it before it escapes. It just works like that. Okay? And so what happens is eventually women have a system that they are able to nicely interact in a social manner that is most detected to not hurt the other people's feelings. And sometimes it like misfires, like in the modern day, you'll have these less than sensitive males that will continually ask the same female out. And she keeps coming up with excuses. I always tell such females, tell him you're not interested. Let me get this straight. I'm not interested in you. I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but there's a certain chemistry that I'm not feeling, and it's not going to work. So it would be better if you spent your time searching to find girls who have chemistry for you. Thank you. Bye. Okay, like that. But what happens, because getting back from the clueless male, is men do not know how to approach women socially in such a way that women feel comfortable with it most of the time. It's too direct, it's not subtle, it's frontal, it's like, oh yeah, the men are hunting game. Well, women seldom like that unless the guy's like really hot. And even then, it can be irritating. But the point being, okay, is that when women say all men are pigs, they're talking about the fact that men aren't being social. And then there's another one, is the feelings of the woman. Women are much better, more sensitive about detecting the emotions of those around them. And they try to take those into account. Okay. And men are often not very observant or sensitive to the female emotion. You can tell when a woman likes you when she doesn't. Look at her face. Okay, most guys don't get that. Plus, women don't want to be approached with a, hey, let's do physical contact type of attitude, which so many idiot males go for. Because, yeah, there's a sociobiological thing that's happening in the lower parts of the brain that says, pass your DNA on. Well, men are a little direct about it. The female mind, remember, they're in the camp, they're watching the children. They're the ones that have the children. They have an emotional attachment. Women need more than just the best DNA around. They also need like relationship with the food providers or the meat providers. Okay, so there's an interaction that goes on, but the female's emotions are often not detected, right? Because the females have a dance that they have to do. Again, it goes back to the animal parts of our brains, and it's emotionally connected. They want to be treated in a certain way. Most guys aren't doing that. Okay, so men seem very, and this is at an emotional level, and if women think about it, they'll realize, oh yeah, that's what I mean when all men are pigs. And a lot of the women, if they think about it, will be able to verbalize what it is men do. But understand that this is why women will say all men are pigs. Now, what to do about it? Well, be mindful, become aware, and don't let it bother you, because one of the main tendencies that I have is, in many things, men and women think alike, but there's a lot of stuff, especially socially, that men and women do not think alike. Understanding this helps you not be frustrated with the opposite sex. Well, that's all for today. Have a wonderful week.